Hey guys, how you doing? In this video, is the Mark 1 Focus a good buy in 2021? Chris Harris is a fan of the Focus. He's said that the Focus RS Mark 1 that he had as a long-termer is one of the best long-termers he's ever had. And just recently he's done a podcast with Johnny Smith, and he said that if he was going to start it again with 0 cars, the first car he would buy would be a 1.6 Mark 1 Focus. Praise doesn't come much higher than that, I think. So is he right? And does the Mark 1 Focus make a good second-hand buy in 2021? Short answer is yeah, absolutely. If you just want a bog standard 1.6 car that's got around 100 horsepower, you need something that's practical, get you around, then sure, yeah, it definitely is in my opinion. So let me go into that in a bit more detail. I'll go through the various aspects of the car and I'll give my thoughts on each one. So I've got a little list here. So first of all, let's start with the most obvious thing. The looks of the car. Does a Mark 1 Focus still look good in 2021? And I think absolutely does. It's very subjective, obviously, looks, but I personally think it looks modern. I think 9 people out of 10 are probably going to be looking for the hatchback version of the Focus, and I think it's as good as most of the new cars I think on the market. I don't think it's aged at all. So yeah, definitely, even if you're buying a car for looks, I think the Mark 1 Focus has got to be on your list. Interior wise, I'd say the interior of the Focus is absolutely fantastic, and it's still modern today, and I would say it's better looking than most of the dashboards you'll find on modern cars. You don't feel claustrophobic, you don't feel like the dash is impinging on your space. It's got a very nice design. It's not symmetrical at all, which is fantastic. It's got a lot of slashes in it and cuts, and there's different shapes. It's a fantastic dashboard, really well ahead of its time. Poised. Now, okay, this is the one of the main areas where you're going to see a big difference between the new cars and cars that are 20 years old. The Focus was made sort of from I want to say 1998 until like 2004 for the Mark 1 Focus. And with regards to the toy count, definitely the new cars have got screens in them, they've got parking sensors. But one thing I would say to counteract all of that, you get a 1.5 DIN fascia gap in the dash, and you can always upgrade to an Android head unit, and that will give you Android Auto, that will give you satellite navigation, that will give you Bluetooth, that will give you internet, that will give you parking sensors, that will give you parking cameras. So even though it doesn't have the toys of modern cars, realistically the toys of modern cars are not that spectacular. It is something that you can very easily fit in the aftermarket. So yes, bog standard car, Focus lags behind, but realistic, you're only about 400 euro, 400 pounds, you can get the same toys as a new car. And realistically speaking, I see people with newer cars, and I see them swapping out the factory head units and putting in aftermarket Android head units because they want Android in the car. And you're in the same position with a 20-year-old Focus. You can do the same thing. So I don't really see a big handicap there. Definitely not a deal breaker on the toys front. I mean, it's got electric mirrors, it's got electric windows, it's got air conditioning. I mean, those are the fundamental things I think that you need in a car, things that you can't live without, and it's got them. What's next on my list? I've gone through toys. What am I on to now? Safety. Okay, this is the other area where arguably you could say from the factory the Focus is not going to be as safe as newer cars. But I would also say that the Focus is probably much safer than most of the cars that were out in 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. I'd say the materials on this are stronger, better, stiffer, and I would say from the Japanese cars of the same era, I would say that the Focus is a big step forward over them. The Focus is much is much more simple, but it's not a dangerous car. It's not something that's going to fall apart in an accident. So again, not as good as a new car, but not a deal breaker either. Come on to handling. So this is probably the thing that the Focus is most famous for. I'd say the biggest difference between new cars and cars, you know, even sort of 2010 and before, is that the newer cars are much more insulating of the driver. So it comes down to personal taste. Personally, I like to feel involved in the process. I don't want to feel like I'm sitting on my couch driving a computer game. I want to, you know, feel the road, feel involved in the. So if that's you, then a Mark 1 Focus is going to be as good or better than new cars, in my opinion. It's much nicer to drive this than a new car. With regards to cornering limits, yeah, the new cars have got definitely higher limits, better braking, higher cornering speeds, and I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that they've got bigger tires on the car. So like even box standard Seat Leon has got like 225 tires on it from the factory. This has got 195. In regards to cornering feel, steering feel, the way the car feels going down the road, driving it on a country road, yeah, I'd say it's better, the Mark 1 Focus, than the newer cars. But that's down to my personal preference, yeah, that one. What's next on my list here? Engine power. So I think, you know, this has changed a bit with the downsizing that's been going on in recent years. So for a 100 horsepower engine now, you're probably going to be buying, you know, maybe. Is the 1 litre going to be a faster car than this? Maybe. In real world driving, I think that the newer engine is going to feel faster than this because it's got so much more torque. In regards to out and out speed, I'd say there's probably not a lot in it. Next one, I've got engine costs written here, but I'm going to leave that, I think, for servicing. So the next one on my list is practicality. So when I think of practicality, how easy it is to get in and out of, how easy is it to load, what's the load area like, does it have ISOFIX fittings, and I would say that the Focus is good in all those areas. Again, cup holder is very important for me. It's got the rear seats, they fold flat, so the seat base will fold forward, and then you can put the backrest down to where the seat base is where, so you get a flat load area in the back. Doesn't sound like much, but it does make a big difference. Again, definitely not a deal breaker. And then we come on to the servicing costs. So the newer cars, the newer Focus will be a bigger car, it'll have bigger tires, it will have bigger brakes, they'll definitely have a more complicated engine, definitely have more electronics. So all those things are going to cost more and arguably probably be more difficult to fix. So on the servicing point of view, I definitely say that this car, like a Mark 1 Focus, has got the edge on the newer Focuses on new cars. But then you've got to weigh that up with how much more likely are things to go wrong on a, you know, 160, 250,000 kilometer car versus a new car. Well, I suppose there's always a risk that the engine is going to expire or the gearbox is going to expire. Those are, I suppose, the big things that will go wrong with it. But you can pick up used engines, used gearboxes for, you know, a couple £100. Even if the engine does break on it, I mean, it's not the end of the world to fix. I mean, it's relatively easy to fix. So, you know, even if you lose an engine, I'd still say that the servicing costs on a Mark 1 Focus is going to be less than on new cars. You know, even tires You know, the new Focus is probably riding on 225 tires. They're probably, you know, 50% more expensive than the tires that came in the Mark 1. So yeah, people say, oh, what if your alternator goes? What if your starter motor goes? Yeah, okay, they are more likely to go, absolutely. But how much is an alternator? Like 80 quid. How much is a starter motor? Depends where you get them from. Say 150 quid. But once you fit that, it's good for another 250,000 miles. You know what I mean? Bushes are going to wear out on them for sure. They need changing. But again, how much you paying? Probably, I've just changed them on this, and I think I paid 120 each side for the wishbones, and literally it takes about 10 minutes to change each side. I mean, it's a nothing job. So yeah, things are going to wear out. Yeah, things are going to be need to be replaced. But again, I still think it's going to be cheaper than servicing the newer cars, even on a like-for-like basis. And then if you start talking about, you know, depreciation on the new car, then, you know, we're finished. The new car is going to be much more expensive to run, because there is basically going to be no depreciation if you get a Mark 1 Focus now. If anything, easy to imagine them going up in price. You know, you're going to make money from buying a Mark. What else? So now we come to comfort, which I suppose is one of the main reasons that you would buy a new car, is for the comfort. So where are you going to see big differences in comfort between a new car and this car? I'd say Ford messed up a little bit on the seats in this car. They are a little bit hard. I mean, you don't really want to do a journey more than sort of 3 hours in this. On long journeys, that is the only problem. Everything else is fantastic. The stereo is good, as Ford have been doing a good job on for years now. I'd say, is it as good as stereos that you get you know, the absolute latest cars? Probably not, but it's not a million miles away. So we've got the seats is probably the big thing, but everything else, ride quality, maybe they're not as quiet inside as the newer cars. I find this car to be quite noisy with regards to wind noise. It being a 20-year-old car, it's got a few rattles and rocks and rattles. I mean, it's not a Toyota of the same age. I mean, I find Toyotas to be, you know, more or less silent inside, even with the intergalactic mileage. You can't say the same. The heat is fine on it. Air conditioning is super powerful. I've been in new cars whose air conditioning is not as good as the air conditioning in this one. So I'd say in that area, Ford really nailed it. And to be fair, they usually do pretty nail it, the comfort. It's okay. I mentioned that there isn't that much room between the seats, but it does come with an armrest, which is a nice feature to have, even though I very rarely use it. Yeah, not a big difference between a new car and this in regards to comfort, honestly. Maybe the seats are better on the new cars, but, you know, I suppose that's going to depend on the new car, really. Yeah, sure. Deal more fuss. Yeah, sure. Comfort, I mentioned. Okay, reliability. Do I trust this car to get me where I want to go? Yeah. I'd take this car to Athens at the moment, no problem. I'd go 3-4 hours with this car. I've got no major doubts about it, if you know what I mean. I think it's a reliable car. I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't drive it to Britain. I wouldn't drive it to Germany. But I'm not saying that because of reliability. I'm saying that because it's only a 1.6 engine, 100 horsepower. It's going to take me forever to go long distance, so that's the only reason I wouldn't take it a long way. It's solely down to solely down to horsepower. So that's the reliability. I'm coming to the end of it now, guys, and I think I have fuel economy. If I could just put that in it. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the downsizing. I mentioned about how the you know, modern Ford engines with 100 horsepower have like 1 litre engines now. They're supposed to be more fuel efficient. Well, this car, we drive this car motorway, basically what the journey that you've just seen. So motorway and in town, and we get like an easy 35, 36 miles per gallon, and that's without trying. And I suppose if you wanted to drive 100 kilometers an hour, basically take it easy, I think we could easily get 40 miles per gallon. And I think realistically speaking, that's what you get on the newer cars. So I don't see that there's a big chasm there. I mean, I wouldn't be buying a new car to get improved fuel economy over this car. And I think that the Focus really stacks up. I'm sure it's not a bad buy at all. And if I was looking to, let me put it this way, I would prefer to own this car than a new 1.6 Focus, for all the reasons I've mentioned. So that's my opinion, guys, of the Mark 1 Focus. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see me again. Like, comment, and I'll see you next time.